I think a lot of us would agree that this winter's turned out to be a lot more active than what we thought it would be. A lot of us dealt with last weekend's situation. There's another one this weekend, and there's reason to believe that this mess is going to continue at least through the first half of February. And because of that, it makes sense to go ahead and take a look at your winter preps in particular and make sure that they're squared away. So today we're going to talk about things that you should buy or stockpile before the next big winter storm. And the first one is going to be a generator. If you don't have one, try to get that taken care of. And if you went out and you bought one at a hardware store before this last thing, don't take it back. If you were freaking out trying to get one last weekend, then there's a good chance that you're going to need it again. So just hold on to the thing. And there's always the slap fighting, gas versus solar. And the truth is that they both have their own advantages, they have their disadvantages. Gas is good for, first off, being a little bit cheaper and also running for as long as you have fuel. But on the flip side, there's also mechanical concerns, and if you run out of fuel, then they're just big honking paperweights. Solar, on the other hand, is good for powering smaller devices like radios for an extended period of time, but during weather events, especially those during winter where there's a lot of cloud cover, then recharging those power stations from panels can be a bit of a challenge. Then after that is a heater, specifically something like a buddy heater that you can run off of either 1 pound propane bottles, preferably a larger propane tank just because it lasts longer. Those can make a pretty big difference, especially if you're trying to stay warm in a smaller area, like one specific room of your house, like what we've talked about previously. Then after that, of course, if you're going to have a generator, if you're going to have a heater, you're going to need plenty of fuel for both of those things. Start off with the basics like gasoline and diesel. That'll just depend on, of course, what vehicle you have. If you have a generator, if you're relying on gasoline, try to get ethanol free whenever possible just because it's better for small engines. Then after that is propane that can be used for cooking, heating, and then also running dual and tri-fuel generators. Here I have a little 1 pound propane bottle. I did that just because that's what fit on my desk, but those are not ideal. Anytime that you can get an adapter hose for something like a heater or cook stove, then that's probably what you want to do just because they're a lot more cost effective. Of course, you can get propane refill kits to replace these bottles, but in general, the adapter hoses and the full-size tanks are just a lot easier to use. And one thing I noticed about propane, at least where I live during this last storm last weekend, is that mess sold out at least a couple of days before the storm actually hit. There were news stories of people lined up for, I think, like 2 miles at one propane dealer just to either get new tanks or get theirs topped off. So go ahead and get that taken care of now if things have kind of returned to normal where you live. And then next up is butane. And really that's just good for those small butane stoves. But if you need something that's relatively safe to use indoors, butane's a good option. Of course, adequate ventilation, carbon monoxide detectors, all that still applies, but you can really cook pretty much anything on one of those that you can on your regular stovetop. So that's what I like about them. And the one important thing to remember about butane, though, is that it won't vaporize at temperatures 31 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. So if you're going to rely on this, you do need to take steps to make sure that these little cans don't get too cold. Then after that is kerosene and lamp oil. If you're using anything like oil lamps, hurricane lanterns, be sure that you have plenty of that, along with extra wicks for those. I like to get them by the roll. It's a whole lot more cost effective than buying those little strip wicks at Walmart. And then also, if you have anything like a white gas lantern, propane lantern, be sure that you have mantles for those. Then if you have an alcohol stove, of course, denatured alcohol is probably the best for them, but if you're in a pinch, you can use isopropyl alcohol or even something like Everclear in place of that. Then after that, cheap lighting methods. Like I got this as a little multi-pack. You can also get cheap flashlights, cheap headlamps. You just want to give yourself options. You don't want to be relying on one flashlight that runs on some weird freaky battery type and then it goes dead. You don't have a way to charge it. Get something that relies on a common battery type, even if, you have something like, say, an Olight that does use a proprietary battery. Have something like this as a backup, just so that you can take advantage of those common battery sizes. And that leads me to the next thing, which is batteries. Get the sizes that you need for the devices you're actually planning to use, and don't forget about your smoke alarms and your carbon monoxide detectors. Most of the time, those are going to take those weird 9-volt batteries that you don't use for anything else. So that's kind of easy to let slip through the cracks just because you're not using a 9-volt battery in a lantern. Then after that is, if you don't have an emergency radio, try to pick one of those up. They tend to last a good long while, and you can also hand crank them to charge them. You can use their built-in solar panel, charge them from a generator or a power station, and they'll let you continue to get information even if your cable and the internet poops the bed. So these are really good to have. And then also different kinds of clothing. Like I have some wool socks here, just stuff that you can use to keep yourself warm. So wool socks, wool hats, and if you have, especially things that are made of wool, go ahead and take a look at them if you haven't used them yet to make sure that moths haven't eaten them up. Like I had a hat that I dearly love that had holes in it, and I'm like, what the crap happened? And turns out it was stinking moths. So do what you can to protect your stuff from those. Also, don't forget about like gloves, thermals, coats and jackets. If you're in an area that gets really cold regularly and there's a good chance that you're going to have to go outside to like shovel your driveway or something like that, insulated pants can be good to have also. And then kind of a small item that can help you stay a lot more comfortable is going to be hand warmers. Most of the time, people are going to use those little disposable hand warmers, like hot hands and stuff like that. This one uses lighter fluid. It's made by Zippo, and I kind of like it a little bit better just because it's reusable. I'm not all the time having to, throw stuff away time after time. But either one of them will work fine. And then after that is food. And with food, the less prep that you have to do with it, the better off that it is. So here I have some canned tuna. Canned tuna, you get some crackers, just eat it straight out of the can. You don't have to do anything except drain the liquid if you want to. And then there's also peanut butter. But of course, if you have a backup cooking method or a backup power source that can power something like a microwave, then that's going to open up a whole lot more options to you. Canned goods are great. Also, freeze-dried meals, because those really don't require a whole lot of preparation. If you want to, cook beans and rice, of course, you are going to need to stockpile additional fuel. Also, you're going to need an additional water supply to help you with that. And that brings me to the next thing, which is water containers. It wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and pick up a few more of those. Also, pick up a couple of cases of bottled water once they get back in stock. And if you have water containers, go ahead and clean those out. Like before this last storm, I did that with a couple of mine. I have a couple more that I'm probably going to do the same to over the next couple of days. And one thing I forgot when it comes to food is if you don't have a cooler, go ahead and pick one of those up, because if you lose power, then you can put a lot of your perishables inside of that cooler. And just, if it's below freezing, keep the thing in a shady spot outside, and it should keep the stuff cold, especially if you're able to pack it tight with really cold stuff, like frozen items. Then after that is hygiene supplies, starting with the most holy of all hygiene supplies, and that's the good old toilet paper. We all need that, and we all know it's the first thing that people buy when there's a storm coming in, a new plague of misery or anything like that. So pick that up. Also get some hand sanitizer and some sanitizing wipes, because those will let you keep your hands clean and also clean off surfaces around your house without having to blow through your stored water. And rationing water can be a pretty important thing during a winter storm, just because water mains break, water facilities go offline, and you might be stuck with what you have laying around the house. So hand sanitizer, sanitizing wipes are great for that. And then also some things to kind of help protect the inside of your home, reduce drafts. wide painter's tape. I really like frog tape just because it's so stinking wide. I've been using this stuff for several years now for a lot of different things, and it works really well. And then also plastic sheeting, tarps. Plastic sheeting in particular, we talked about how you can create sort of a greenhouse effect by using them to cover your windows. And it's just one of those things, especially if you have drafts, then this can make a really big difference. If you can go ahead and take care of those drafts for real, though, now, like you can go get yourself some caulk, weather stripping, that'd be another good thing to go ahead and do if you have the time. Then also, blankets, sleeping bags, stuff that you can use to help you stay warmer than maybe what your normal bedding can do on your own. I talked about that in a video last week. If it's really cold and the power's out, get in the sleeping bag first and then get under the covers on your bed, and that could help out a lot. Then, this one is a big one, especially if you have younger kids that are going to get bored and then drive you bat poop crazy. That is non-electronic entertainment methods. Things like board games, new Lego sets, coloring books. My son, he got this little, it's like how you can set up dominoes and make little paths for him and knock them over and you watch them fall. He got a set, it's like not actual dominoes, it's like little game piece type things. But something like that would be really good, especially if you have younger kids. If you have an older one, maybe get them a new journal or something. You got a teenage boy, teach them how to whittle, just different things. If you don't have a tent, it might be a good idea to go ahead and get one of those, especially a smaller one, kind of more geared towards backpacking, because you can set one of those up in a room of your house, maybe kind of near the fireplace if you have one, and that'll help you create a microclimate that can help you stay a little more warm. And then a very important one is medications. And for this, you want to think about things that you use regularly, and then also medications that are used to treat common illnesses that crop up during this time of year. So as far as those common illnesses, of course, cold, other upper respiratory junk, you got your guaifenesin for chest congestion, you got pseudoephedrine for your nasal congestion. And then as far as just daily medications, during this last storm, I didn't realize that I was as low on heartburn meds as I was. So I had to go and get some of those once things thawed out a little bit. And then another good thing to have for this time of year is going to be distilled water, especially if you have a backup power source and a humidifier. If somebody gets a cough, then that can really help things out. And then another one is a utility shutoff tool. This is especially important for your water utilities because, pipes, they can freeze, they can burst, and if you don't have a way to shut off the water by the side of your house, then, you're just at the mercy of the water flooding your house, and you don't want that. So have a utility shutoff tool, know where your water cutoff is, and if you're expecting a lot of snow or something like that, it's not a bad idea to take something like a flag or some other type of marker that you can use to kind of help you determine where that, like water box or whatever it's called. My brain is not working right now, but just be able to figure out where that is quickly, so if something does go wrong, you're not having to shovel through a bunch of snow trying to find it. Now, if you want to see ways that you can stay warm without a heater or a generator, then go ahead and click here. Or if this is all sort of overwhelming and you're new to preparedness, you just want to get a start, then check out this video over the first $100 that a new prepper should spend. Thank y'all for stopping by. Y'all have a good one.